constantly accusing him. One of my favorite tales or movies is The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. It's a movie with Humphrey Bogart. And in that movie, there are a couple of old, washed-up men. They really don't have anything going for them. They're broke, and they're constantly getting schemed out of whatever money they have. And so they conspire with one another. Let's be a prospector. Let's be a 49er. Let's go out to California and let's search for gold and make it rich in California. But they don't know anything about prospecting. And in the course of one of the flop houses they're staying in, they come across an old prospector, a man who's prospected, used the best parts of his life, the prime of his life, he was prospecting. And he had great success. Of course, he was penniless. And they said to him, "Listen, old man, would you go with us to California? We'll do the lion's share of the work, and we'll give you the lion's share of the profit. Just go out there, show us where to go and how to do the operation." And he tells them, "I'm not going to go with you because I've found that gold does not satisfy. I found that there's something much greater than gold in life. And I could take it or leave it at this point in my life." And he said, "You're foolish to go pursue it too. The only thing you're going to find out there is trouble and possibly even death. Don't go after it." Well, they cajole him and persuade him and hang, harangue him, and he eventually decides to go. But what the whole movie is about, really, is whether or not that prospector who had, forsworn gold, if he was given gold again and had the chance for gold, would he take it? And of course, they strike it rich, and they stay up there for about 9 months to a year, and they get a fortune, and they're about to pack it up and take it back. They're taking it back. And of course, the situation arises, will the prospector risk his life, or will he give up the gold? And the story is about how the prospector says, "You know what? You can have it. I was content before I came up here, and I'm content now." But the point was that he really couldn't have known how sincere his new contentment was if he wasn't forced to wrestle with what used to bring him contentment, with what he used to strive after, and what he used to make the very purpose of his life. You see? And I think that for David grew up pursuing something which was worldly in nature. And now that he's found the Lord, how best for God to try his heart, to test his new contentment, than to give him what he formerly sought and formerly thought to be valuable in power. We were all born with avarice, We were all born with greed. We all have this desire to attain things we cannot keep. I don't understand it. We all are born loving the creation more than the Creator. And, God likely has used circumstances in your life to bring you away from that desire for the creation and to give the Creator. And now that you've found God, God wants to see if that new love that you have for Him is the highest love that you have. It's clear that David loved God, right? There's no doubt about that. And it's very clear that he saw Him very highly. He valued Him. But here, when David is blessed with success, he's blessed with prosperity, and the number of soldiers has increased, and his power has increased, will he then seek to find his love, his value in what God has blessed him with? Or will he gladly continue to find his faith, his joy, his contentment in the Lord? And evidently he did not. He still had this love for worldly things. That's why he calls for this census. That's why he wants to revel in the blessing that God has given him. He wants to find security and trust and fulfillment in the blessing of God rather than God himself. And so, a lot of times when God wants to see where your heart is, He'll give you something you used to really want. And then He's going to see if you kind of ditch God and focus on the blessing. So it kind of goes to show you're never really interested in God anyway. You were offered a refugee. You didn't find in Christ that pearl of great value. Okay? So that's how He tries somebody's heart, as He blesses them. Secondly, God reasons with us to try our minds. Look at verses 2 to 6. So David said to Joab and to the princes of the people, "Go, number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring me word that I may know their number." And Joab said, "May the Lord servant, why does my Lord seek this thing? Why should he be a cause of guilt to Israel? Nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab. Therefore Joab departed and went throughout all Israel and came to Jerusalem. And Joab gave the number of the census of all the people to David. And all Israel were 1,100,000 men who drew the sword. And Judah was 470,000 men who drew the sword. But he did not number Levi and Benjamin among them, for the king's command was abhorrent to Joab. I want you to turn for just a minute to 1 Corinthians chapter 1. I want to read you a passage here. And, it has to do with this idea. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 18. Incidentally, he didn't number Levi and Benjamin. One thing, the Levites were the priestly class. And Joab, he feared the Lord, and he just thought that, plus I think he just got altogether tired of the whole thing. He knew it was a bad idea, and he just kind of gave up. We know from the concurrent passage in another book that it took him 9 months to count what he did count, and he was just done. I'm not counting anymore, and he took it back to him. If you found 1 Corinthians chapter 1, look at verse 18. It says, "For the word of the cross is to those who are perishing foolishness, but to us who are being saved it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the cleverness of the clever I will set aside. Where is the wise man? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God the world through its wisdom did not come to know God, God was well pleased through the foolishness of the message preached to save those who believe. For indeed Jews ask for signs, and Greeks search for wisdom. But we preach Christ crucified, to Jews a stumbling block, and to Gentiles foolishness. But to those who are the called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. Because the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men." I read this to you to make this point, and to help you understand where David was coming from. We're raised on lies.